Sagarmatha Sambad.
Dr. Gurung laid out very clearly that there are many people who live in the mountains, but there are even more people who live downstream of the mountains. And so you can look at it from water perspective, you can look at it from food perspective, but the point is whatever happens upstream, it is going to affect everybody. So the panel, and so we discussed this with the organizers, so there are basically three areas that we would like to take up from this keynote speech. So one is, we're talking about markets, right? And so when we say markets, it's markets for tourism, but then also about practices that we have in terms of generating, products or destinations. So how do you do that? But then also in terms of a shared vision for preserving our natural capital. So do we develop tourism by depleting, or do we actually enhance the natural capital that we have? And so many years ago, people came to villages and then they were basically cooking for the tourists using rhododendron plants. It didn't take very long for people to realize that it's the rhododendron that people come to see. So tourism actually provided an incentive for rhododendron conservation. So I think people understand these issues. The second part is, of course, policy and institutions, but then also the finances that are needed, to make this happen. And the third, of course, is the people, the community, the women, the youth, who live in these areas. So those are the three broad areas in which we want to discuss. So maybe Rajanji, we start with you, and then just move around, and we'll see where this conversation goes. Please, Rajan.
Thank you, Anil sir. So let me start with the Dr. Ghana, who clearly indicated that there are a lot of problems. So there is a climate crisis, in the earth. And Oxfam did a study on, one of the area on climate crisis in terms of inequality. It says that 1% of the richest emit carbon pollution equal to 5 billion people. Look how scary the situation is. And the other thing is looking at the financial commitment that we have and the recent study that we have done. So here is a paper and which will be out after a month, in the website. So what it says is between 2011 to 2021, Nepal secured a total of $5.71 billion in climate finance. But among that, 70% of the total with bilateral finance and only 1% that comes from private sector and philanthropy. So now looking at it from the multilateral source, that's from the 70% among that. So the 53%, among 70%, the 53% that comes as concessional loans. Now, looking at our carbon emission and the penalty that we are getting, so we need to work on that, where Oxfam is having a campaign on that. So that's the work that we do at a global level. Now being at a local level, at a country level. So what we do, we have done the research, try to identify the scenario. So what's the context and how are we moving ahead? Then second is we work on innovative tools and technologies, because it's not only blaming others, it's also our responsibility, because we are also the part of this globe. And that's why, let me take you through an example, to a river, as Dr. Khana already mentioned about the crisis on the mountain. So look at the people that are dependent within that river. So I'm taking through you a Mahakali Basin, that's a sheer basin between Nepal and India. And when I was there with a project called Transboundary Rivers of South Asia in 2017, during that time, everyone knows that, people living nearby that river always have a sentiment or a connection with the river. But the opposite on that river is the community were quite angry with that river, because they only used to get flood, disasters, and they don't have access to the river because of political sensitivity. The tag has been given on that. There were blame games. Either Nepal is polluting the river, India is polluting the river. It was quite difficult for us to initiate, any activities on that river, because even the local governments, the civil society organizations, they said that it's a sensitive work that you are trying to do, and only the central government of Nepal and central government of India can do or can act on that. Then we started inviting people from the ground, from India side and Nepal side. We call it Mahakali Sambad. That's like Sagarmatha Sambad. So you can Google it, you can find reports on that. So now On that forum, there were like blame games because the river has been polluted, but people are getting water, like they are using those water for drinking during sand mining, they were using on that. Then we started asking them, so what would be the best option? What we need to do? The one common thing that we found between those communities is conservation of Mahakali River, sustainable use of Mahakali River. That was the terminology that has been coined by the community. This is not by the INGOs or NGOs. So that means they said that we need this river because we are getting a lot of things indirectly. Then we started with inviting private sectors. So one of the private sector was from rafting company. So then what he started saying, the rafting company from India side, so they were initiating their business since 2015. So during that time, he came into a panel and what he said clearly is, look, what I'm trying to do here is, I started a rafting, but rafting is it's a traditional way of doing an adventurous game. But what I'm also, diversifying the economy, in terms of diversifying the economy, what I'm trying here is, so rather than, killing a fish and serving to a tourist, so he only gets maximum $5 out of it. But what he tried is, he does fish angling, which means, taking out a fish, taking a photo, he earns $100 from a tourist, and that can continue for a long term. So that means now he is getting a lot of earning out of it. So then the community, now look at the migration rate on that area. Most of the people from Nepal side, they go to India saying that, I'm not going to India, I am going to the market. So that's the marketplace for them. So now because of rafting, people have received the training on rafting. Now they are staying with their grandfathers and sons. So most of the people, they have returned on that area. And during the leisure period, because rafting does not continue in the rainy season, so they started their alternative business like agriculture. And even the homestays are working on that. Now, looking at it, what I am, giving a message to everyone, is that in that, very sensitive, politically sensitive area, people are interested to conserve the natural resources. And they look at the welfare. Why shouldn't we, promote and request these private sectors who are the watchdog of rivers? So let's, invite those private sectors, because we always blame private sectors saying that they don't do. But let's have a collective effort. I did ask them to come up with innovative ideas, and let's ask also, to make a plan of less polluting the nature. Thanks.
Thank you, Rajan. That's a really good example. And so the more concrete we are, the better off we are. So this, transboundary, rivers. So the key points here, high value. So adding value is not just catching the fish, but creating a destination and also an activity that actually pays in hundreds of dollars instead of just killing the fish. So what we'll do is just pause on this side. So let me see in the audience if there are any questions that you would like to ask the panelists. Okay, so let's do 1, 2, and then 3. So this is very good. From 3 sections, 3 different questions. Let's do 1 round and then we'll come back. Please.
Thank you. My name is Indra Sabgota. I work for the Ministry of Forest and Environment. I'm going to ask a question, keeping in my mind that the recent dispute over the Pathivara temple in the eastern part of the country. Probably we can see this issue from all perspectives of nature, culture, and adventure too. In this context, may I ask a question to you all, especially panelists from Nepal? Any of you can respond to this question. How can we preserve the cultural value of sacred Pathivara while promoting it as a destination for nature-based adventure, tourism, without disrupting the ecological and spiritual balance?
Very good.
Thank you.
So let's take a few more questions and then I'll summarize it for everybody. Yeah, please. Yeah, Bichapa.
Yeah. Very inspiring talk and testimonies. I was just wondering, listening to all these testimonies, whether any application of citizen science has been applied in those regions, engaging citizens for data generation, calibration, and validation. I'm a hydrologist, so now there is an opportunity to engage citizens with the technology and gather those data gaps, address those data gaps, and it will be sustainable because it will create buy-in effect. Whether citizen science has been applied in any of those processes that you just described. Thank you.
Very good. So what I'm going to do is come back here. So maybe we start with the cable car. Okay. So what is your opinion about cable cars in the mountains? So Rajan? So should we have cable cars? And so just a summary of that question, please. What do you think? Yeah, please.
So starting on cable car, I think it's not us to define whether we need cable car or not. So if we have a dialogue with the communities, I think they are the one who should come up with whether they require those resources or not, because this is 21st century and we need to respect people's voice. If they don't want and if they have the idea to preserve in a different way, I think we need to respect that. So that we need to have a hope and trust on the people.
So there was a question about citizen science, and so Rajan might be in a good position. So are people generating local science, local data, for policy making?
Thank you, Dr. Mishra. So Oxfam has been applying, the citizen science concept in the transboundary rivers too. So not only, generating data in the other rivers, but also in the transboundary river, just to, challenge the people in terms of blame games. So now we are in a process of developing these citizen-led river health reports, so that citizens will be informed about the river, they will understand the challenges. So we have used these info kits at this stage. So it has simple pH, litmus paper to understand the pH of the water, and we are making a report on that. Even we are working with Water Energy Commission Secretariat, so is the nodal agency on water resource management, along with watershed departments. So then with them also we are piloting a project in Rangoon watershed in Sudur Paschim area, so where citizen science has been applied and they have been trained on that, and we are linking it with school education. So with the schools, so they do have practicals. So linking with that and understanding about, about the river through technologies. So that would be a great power and evidence, so that can lobby on the policies.